you can use that software specification for the different purpose. So when we say this software specification, like we are actually talking about these things. So we know now these architectures are either of data centric, they may be the function centric, they may be of many center things. So when we say the architecture or a software architecture diagram, we are actually talking about the importance of these designing principles of designing the architecture of your program. For example, let's say suppose I'm simply erasing this uh, part here. So if you are we are having this uh, say suppose you are having a simple website for designing, and that website require an architecture. So what type of architecture or what type of processing methods are very suitable for a website? Let's say suppose whenever you go for the website, websites are generally content oriented. Content oriented means there is a data, content is a data. Okay, so all the websites are data centric. You require to display everything, but the websites are like what you can say something as a showcase. So whenever it is a showcase, you know that is aesthetic counts too much. So the website's actual aesthetic counts too much when it comes to designing a website. So you require, say suppose if you go with creating the website, you need to take care of the pages. Let's say suppose this is what you can say, you are having a one page here. I'm just drawing this sample page. This is called as an architectural sample or data centric sample, which data going to be displayed where and likewise. So let's say this is your architectural page, and here you are having this page here. Okay, so your architecture is ready. Okay, now you require to you can say part this web page into at least two or three parts. Okay, so this is a standard way of parting. So here you will get what say the header part. This is your header part. Say this part is your header part. What we call say. Okay, this will be your tail part. So this generally remains static, means no matter which page you visit, these two things remain static. And then here you are having what you can say your content part or the navigational or browsing area. So here you will get your all pages. So when you say such type of architecture or design, this gives you a ease of handling your website. Sometimes you may go for the website where you are having a menu here, and at the display part is somewhere here. Okay, so here in menu you are having the different links. Here you are having link 1, link 2, and likewise, and whenever you click on that particular link, the things appear on the other frame. So there is a frame architecture. So when you are seeing the websites or like this, we are actually talking about all sort of say this thing. Now before starting our lectures or today's presentation with which I'm going to discuss this furthermore, I request all of you. Right now only 47 attendees are there, but whoever log in into the system, right? Okay, not 8 login, must log in right now. This is already 2:24 p.m. on 15-minute late. Actually, Webex also record your timing. So I'm requesting all of you to subscribe this Tutor AS Romare channel, because I'm uploading all these videos. For example, yesterday's video, many of you not actually all of you complained that no audio was there, but from my side there was no error, so I uploaded that video. I made some edit in that video, so that's why that is a waiting part is actually cut off. So it's only 36 or 38 minutes something, but it's a so that will be helpful to you. And I'll also uh, uh, what you can say ask you to spread the word about this YouTube channel to all your friends from our college, from other colleges also, so that maximum student can join to the YouTube channel and they can comment on whatever I'm presenting there, and from that those comments, obviously I can improve myself. Okay, so I'm going to now share my desktop. Okay, so uh, and we are going to start our today's presentation. The first part of this presentation is not recorded by mistake, so we cope with that. So we are going to start with this. So today we are going to see what is software engineering in designing architecture, and then the software architectural designing principles. And if time permits afterwards, at the end of this, because there are total say around, okay, we are going to think on the alternative architectural designs. And if time won't permit, then we will only say go through these slides or these presentation slides on software engineering, where we are going to discuss the software architecture. So here we are having, I'm simply uh, maximizing the question and answer today instead of the participant list, because what happens many times when ask you for question and answers, you won't get those question and answers there. So if any problem is there with you, I just give the question and answers thing. Okay, and the participant count right now is 54. So okay, so we'll go with this for the presentation today's lecture. So we are going to see what is software engineering, software architecture. Okay. So what is software engineering, software architecture? I already have discussed with you that software architecture is of most important thing. Okay, when it comes to the software designing, and there are different type of architectures. So we are going to see in today's lecture those things. So first objectives, then what are the software architecture, why it is important, what are the different architecture style, what are the architectural designs that we are going to see here. So what are the different objectives of today's lecture? First is we are going to learn about the software architecture. Obviously this part is not completely mentioned in your syllabus in detail, but the thing is that software, without learning the software architecture, learning software designing is impossible. Okay, so we are going to learn this software architecture first, then why it's important, then we are going to see the different architectural styles and different architectural design. So let's start with what is an architecture. You have to be very specific when it comes to defining the architecture. So let's start with the thing, definitions. So what this first says that it is the manner in which the various components of systems are integrated to form a cohesive whole. And now let's say suppose if you are on a notepad, okay, this notepad is your application. I'm saying this notepad NP is your application. So very small and simple note, you can say application. So what are the different models in a notepad? First you are having the workspace. The workspace means the space where you actually type the things. Okay, this workspace is required to load, upload and give access to the new files. So you are having the file menu. This is the next component. Now this file menu is required. I'm not expanding the, you already know what are the content of file menu. This will have the edit menu, the another component. Then you are having the help menu. We'll just stick with these three. Okay, so you have the file, edit and help menu with this workspace. Now, when you have this workspace is attached with the file menu. This workspace is attached with the this edit menu, and this attachment is cohesive. Cohesive means though they are independent from each other, they forms a complete system. Means independent, they are independent from each other, but individually they are useless. For example, let's say suppose if you consider your motorbike, okay, there is a bolt in your motorbike, there is a nut in your motorbike, there is a petrol tank or what you say fuel tank in your motorbike. But if you remove all those things and keep them separate, what will happen? Not a nut bolt, neither that fuel tank will work for you. So cohesive means they are attach strongly with each other to form a common goal or a common system. And so when we say an architecture, so its definition says that it is the manner in which the various components of the system are, this is the important part, integrated. Okay, so it is integrated to form a cohesive whole. So when we say cohesive whole is formed by this integration of different components of software, we can say that is an architecture. So anything where you don't have such type of cohesion can't be called as an architecture. For example, let's say suppose you are having a room, and in a room you are having a table fan. Okay, so is it cohesive? No, they are not strongly coupled. Means you can very easily move that table from that room. But let's say suppose that room is having a ceiling fan, then it is cohesive manner because it is strongly coupled with that room. You require to go through you can say a hectic schedule to remove that particular table fan or sorry particular ceiling fan from the room. In the same way, if you are having an object oriented application, complete application, and this application is attached, this application is attached with a printer driver, okay, and you want to print a file. So is it cohesion? No, it is simply coupling, because a printer driver, different printer drivers, printers can be communicated by your application. But when it comes to edit option of in your application itself, it is a cohesion because that edit module is strongly coupled with your system, and if it is removed, your system becomes incomplete. So actually cohesion means something which actually adds in a completeness of your system, and that is what we can call as an architecture. So if there is cohesion in integration of the different modules, we can say it is an architecture. Second point is that I say that it is a way in which system fits into its environment and meshes with the other system in its vicinity. That is the nearest system. For example, let's say suppose you are having a Bluetooth device. Okay, and you turn it on. So what will happen? That Bluetooth device try to identify all the Bluetooth device within the radii of 100 meter, yes, radius of 100 meters and something. And what we call this as an meshing with the other system. So vicinity, and if they accept and make the handshake, then these Bluetooth devices can form the mobile ad hoc network, what we call as a MAN, yes, or Piconet. So that is what you can say the system fits into the environment. Okay, so your system fits into your environment when you are actually executing a simple application like Notepad. It is actually working in particular environment that is above the operating system, and that is why it's the thing. So what is an architecture? It is the way in which system fits into its environment. So if the system, how smoothly or how what you can say seamlessly system fits into its environment is called as an architecture. This is the simple definition of the architecture. So architecture have these 2 points to consider, that what is an architecture. The third point with the architecture is that it is a degree to which system meets its stated purpose and satisfies the needs of its owner, user and stakeholder. I say our owner, our user, or stakeholders. So now consider what is this system meets its stated purpose. Let's say suppose you are sitting before your TV and you want to see a channel, okay, and you are simply pressing the remote control in your hand, all the buttons on remote control, and it's nothing is happening. What will you do? You will throw away that remote control. Why? Because the system means that remote control is not meeting its stated purpose, controlling remotely that TV. Yes, and that is what it means. So degree to which it meets to stated purpose means every software, every system actually in engineering, what we can call a product as a system. Also, every system has its own purpose. For example, we also have some purpose. If we, in our life we won't have a purpose, our life become a mess. In the same way, a software, if it don't have any purpose, then that softwares are not called as a software. Instead, they can be considered as an viruses. Okay, viruses still have some purpose to damage some other thing. But thing is that it is a degree to which the system meets its stated purpose and satisfies the needs of its owners, user, and stakeholders. Okay, this is the definition of the architecture. Now, what is an architecture? So architecture is the aesthetic feel of the system. Means, just consider that is you wake up early in the morning, okay, not comb your hair, not brush your teeth, no what you can say bath is taken, no clothes are what you can say change, and you are just uh, wake up and started in the same what you can say attire to what you can say relate with the public. What will happen? The public will either consider you as an retard, or public will consider you as an eccentric person. Only two things are possible. Yes. Why they consider you as an eccentric person? Because they know that you are an engineer, and an engineer is behaving like this means either he is an is eccentric, or just due to the overload of studies he may got some mental problem like that. So in the same way, if you are put an application, a software, without to making it over, without the aesthetic or looks or its graphical user interface or command line interface or other type of you can say implicit interfaces, if those designing are not there, then if aesthetic is not good, you can say that the system is not usable. Or many time, even if the system is usable but its aesthetic is not good, many users won't like to use such systems. And that is why when we say what is an architecture, so it is also the aesthetic feel of the system. जस्ट इमेजिन करो आप लोग कि आप सुबह सुबह कहीं पर जा रहे हो किसी फंक्शन के लिए, और ऐसे ही चले गए, अब एक बरमूडा डाल दिया, बनियान डाल दी और ऐसे ही निकल गए, तो चलेगा नहीं चलेगा. सो you have to accordingly say prepare yourself. In the same way, every software you design, इसका graphical user interface, you have to prepare that graphical user interface according to the need of that particular software. Okay. So when we say an architecture, it is an aesthetic feel also. So now what is architecture then? It is the small details like the design of module interfaces, the type of data, platform, addition, and extra utilities, and it goes on. For example, look, let's go with the small details like design module interfaces. Okay, what are the modules? Module are actually interfaces with each other many times instead of interfacing with the end user directly. For example, here you are having the files new module, okay, and here you are having the from edit menu copy module. What actually is new module creates something what we call as a new file, while this copy module can now put anything from its clipboard to this new thing. So they are actually interfacing with each other. Okay. And that interfacing, a very minute detail is there. That interfacing is there. For example, if I open a save as module from the file menu, and if I am giving here the different options 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say for notepad you are seeing plain text, HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. These are the four types are given. Okay, and if you are saving it is in a CSS, then that model have to accordingly work, and that is what you can say CSS or cascadal style sheets processing. So here say you have the model interfaces, that then the type of data. I'm really feeling sorry today because only 62 participants are there in the attendees are there actually join till now. So that not the good sign. I expect at least 90 above participants, because your attendances get recorded regularly on the WebEx platform. This is online, everything is recorded on college server, and I can't do anything with your attendance if it is if your attendance is what you can say, not good, system is going to mark that attendance. So kindly be remain present to the lectures, all lectures, just not mine. Okay, so here I'm saying that is the type of data and platform. So what are the type of data? Whenever you are using an application, you require to concentrate on different types of data. So what are the type of data? You can have integer, floating point, character, string, array, image, what we call say blob, and likewise. So all the type of data is there. Entity is the type of data. You can have the platform, means you are creating a software, implementing a software, and that software is compatible with Windows system. Okay, on Windows platform, it is uh, uh, executable. But let's say it's not compatible with Linux, it's not compatible with iOS and rest other different operating system or the different platform. So that is what you can say type of platform your software is compatible with, and likewise. And in addition of the extra utilities. Now, what are the extra utilities? Let's say suppose you created a computer game, simple computer game, and you made that computer game available on Google Play Store. Say you given first three level of your game free for play. Okay, but now what is extra utility or extra addition of something extra or wow feature that you say that is if in first three levels, if the participant or the gamer scores more than say 1,000 points, okay, means total 3,000 points in all these three levels, the fourth level will automatically become free. Likewise, that is called as an extra addition. So you won't require or she won't require to pay for the extra thing, and likewise. So this is what we say extra. Or say suppose you simply created a simple say data transfer protocol, FTP, file transfer protocol. But now you found that is transferring a simple file, a bulky file is many times very time consuming, and due to the network problem it becomes quite difficult. So you use the multi-datagram protocol where you actually say divided the entire part which you want data that you want to transfer into smaller part, and all the small portions are you can say sent in a serial way using a streamline. So you now we call it as a torrent. Okay, so that is what you call as an extra utilities or extra facilities that you are giving, and so that is an architecture. So when we say what is an architecture, you can have all these points. Points are it; these are not the exhaustive points. There are many other points that you require to consider when it comes to architecture. Okay, because here we say and so on. Okay, so now what is the next point in architecture? So, what is an architecture? It is a thousands of decisions, both big and small, taken by the different what can say teams at different level. Okay, from your topmost managerial level to lowest actual executors layer. So all these decisions made earlier, later on, in the while, this also an architecture. For example, let's say suppose someone give you say 1 lakh rupees to design and develop a e-shopping software for them. That is Shopin Waguli example that we discussed in our last lectures. And you said okay, so we are going to design it. But if one of the team members from say your developing team decided to go for the what you can say rapid application prototyping instead of simply going for this customer communication. So communication burden will get automatically reduced for the design, and likewise. So this decision making is also an architecture. सीधी सी बात बोले तो आपको अगर अभी घर में आप बैठे हैं, आपकी घर के लोग परेशान हो गए, अभी सबको कुछ ना कुछ पकाना है, कुछ ना कुछ करना है, लॉकडाउन की वजह से सारे घर में ही बैठे, so they have said that okay, today our daughter or our son is going to make something for us. Okay, तो उन्होंने ये कर लिया, और उस वक्त जो आप डिसीजन लोगे करते वक्त कि दैट कुकिंग इज नॉट जस्ट द कुकिंग, even the decision that you make, what ingredients you are going to add, is the cooking. In the same way, when you say architecture, say suppose you are creating a software and suddenly customer is asking you for the say a database like access, but you say no. Right now the entire system is going for the cloud, and likewise. So instead of giving him the access, let's make the database in Mongo and MySQL. Okay, so you go for the NoSQL and MySQL both. Okay, databases, and that is what you can say the decision. So that is what we call as an architecture. So what is an architecture? It's all type of decisions that we are making while designing and developing and maintaining our system. So what is an architecture? It is a representation that enables you. Okay, so when we say an architecture, we are actually considering something which is a representation which enables us to analyze the effectiveness of the design. Okay, then it's consider architecture alternatives. There must have to be plan B ready, plan A fails, plan C ready if plan B fails. Okay, and likewise, don't go with the Cantonese you can say literals, because they are 36,000. English is okay, you require to have at least Z plan. Okay, so that what we can say thing. It's architecture is a representation. When you represent everything very clearly, it actually reduces the risk associated, because you understand the entire problem, and that is what you can say the architecture. And finally, it is art as well as science. Why it is art? Because human is involved, and to handle the human beings is not the science. Yeah, we all are the combination of our egos, emotion, prejudice. Many things are there. Okay, and so handling other person is itself art, and handling ourselves is the most difficult art. And at the same time, it is in science. So when it comes to software architecture development, it is both art and science. Okay, so you have to think scientifically, at the same time you have to be very artistic in your, you can say, tackling. So how you can define the architecture? Whatever we discuss above, that discussion will give this simple book definition, that is, the software architecture of a program or a computing system is a structure or a structures of the system which comprises software components, externally visible properties of those components, and relationships among them. So speaking, when we say software architecture, it involves the human beings, means the users of the software, human beings, that is the developer of software, software itself with its components, and whatever material that we are creating to assist for execution of and maintenance of that particular software. So when we say software uh, architecture or software uh, thing, we are actually talking about these things. So this is a simple definition of software architecture. Now we are going to see the next part, why this is important, or why is architecture important. First thing is that why architecture is important. Yes, the thing, it is a representation of software architecture. They are enabler for communication between all parties. Take an example here. I am taking the example of our body system. Our body system have a particular architecture. Here you are having our skull. Here you are having our bones. Okay. Then you are having our bone marrow. Sorry. This. Okay. Then you are having your legs, and likewise bone architecture. I am saying. So what this shows, that is how we can discuss all those things. So when you say communication between all parties, now I can differentiate what is this and what is this, and likewise. In the same way, if you are having a computer system, and if that computer system is defined in its parts, let's say this is the user interface part, that is user will interface will work in this layer only. Okay, then you are up behind this, you are having the interface or the processing logic. Let's say this is the processing logic, and this processing logic is connected with the databases and server system for the communication. Here you can say that is representation of architecture or enabler for communication between all parties. are the stakeholders in software development process. So when we say this, we are actually saying that architecture is important for the first step of software engineering development, and that is communication itself. Then architecture highlights the early design decisions, because if you know the architecture, or if you have a slight idea of an architecture of any system, it is very easy for you to go for these design decisions that will have profound impact on this all software engineering work, and you can create the software very easily. So when we say architecture, it is why it is important, because architecture actually highlights the all definition, or it actually highlights all the features of your software, and that's why architecture is important. Then architecture actually constitute a relatively small, intellectually graspable model of how the system is structured. For example, let's say suppose if you ask a small child to draw a bicycle. Okay, how that small child will draw a bicycle? One circle, another circle. I'm seeing a small child is drawing the bicycle. They are connected with each other, okay, and they are having a handle. Bicycle is ready for that person. Yes, because this is what we call as an architecture, a relatively small but intellectually graspable model of how the system is structured. Okay, in the same way, if I say, give me a client server architecture, okay, now you know that there is a client. Yes, between there is a network, okay, client and server, and there is a server. Okay, so this client communicating with the server via this network. So this is what we call as a uh, relatively small but intellectually graspable. Okay, so when we say flowchart and everything, this actually constitutes those things, and that's why architecture are important, or architecture is important in defining and designing our softwares, and in a more robust way, so that the software can stand the competition. So now we are going to see the different architectural style. First, software that is built for computer based system exhibits many of these architectural style, and every style have some different thing. So first, this system styles have the set of components. For example, your database, computational modules, graphical user interface, command line interface, then you are having this communication interfaces. All those are called as the set of components. For example, maybe your software required to communicate with a printer, your software required to communicate with the fax, your software required to communicate with the other system. Okay, then that system is a. Second is the set of connectors that enables this communication, coordination and cooperation among the components. All the components of your software require to communicate with each other. Okay, it's not always the user who's going to give the input. So one module may give input to other module, that module may give input to this, and maybe many times one's module's output is the another module's input, and that is called as what is a connectors. And so this communication coordination, these are what you can say the way which design or define the architectural style. Then you are having the constraints that define how components can be integrated to form the system. Okay, and there is a semantic models that enable a designer to understand the overall properties of a system by analyzing the known properties of its concurrent part, constituent part. So semantic models means the designer understand the overall properties of the system by analyzing the known properties. We are talking about rapid application development. All there is an already existing system, or you are simply modifying already existing system. Okay, the parallel system or the same system, and there comes the semantic model. So you want to improve the existing one, or you want to create the new one by observing the existing one. So this defines the different type of architectural style. So we go with the data center architecture. So first, data center architecture, you are having a voluminous data at the center for the processing. Okay, base example of data centric architecture, let's consider your social network sites. Okay, social network sites like WhatsApp, this Facebook, or social network site like say Twitter, they are having a tremendous data there for processing and likewise, and almost everyone is working as a client. So all clients as softwares are there and they are having the tremendous data. Now here you require to have data structures, databases, data handling capacity, everything related with the data is there. So data science plays a very important role in such architecture. As soon as comes data science, you requires to that analyze this data. Now this tremendous volume of data cannot be analyzed by say by humans or manually. It is impossible to analyze them. So you require to create something which should have to analyze this data and how to learn how to analyze this data based on the some changes in this data. So comes the machine learning in picture. Okay, so as soon as the machine learning come in picture and you are having the tremendous data, you may require to find out some predictions, or you may require to make some decisions, and sometimes it is not feasible for a human to go and make a decision. So here you create an artificial program, okay, a computer program which can use the data science and machine learning to take some decisions and actions. Uh, that is what we call as imitating a human being. As soon as your machine start imitating the human being, it is called as artificial intelligence. So all the data centered architectures, they leads to artificial intelligence. And right now almost all the applications which we are using, 70% above applications are data centric. And big data and this cloud and all those things are going on. AI is already taking over the many mainstream programming systems, and so all the languages and computer programming practices are leading to this data centric architecture. Means see, whatever website you are developing, whatever web application you are developing, whatever software right now you are developing is actually creating large data. It is actually processing large data. Even if you create say a word like software, okay, it creates the voluminous amount of word files and likewise, and you have to store that data somewhere, you have to make those things. And so this is the first architecture style, data centric architectures. Okay, very important right now in this current era is the data centric architecture, data store. So what this is, you are in a data store. This may be the data store, database, files, something like this, where you have to store this data, you have to retrieve data from there. So data warehousing, data marts, data this. So data center architectures, they promote maximum integrability, and see importance of this is there. And likewise, now data can be passed among clients and something. For example, it comes to financial data, you also have to go through the different type of security measures and likewise. So data centric architecture defines based on the type of data what you are going to do. Then you have the data flow architectures. The data centric and data flow are different things. When it comes to data flow architecture, there are some fixed you can say mechanisms, and data is processed through those mechanisms. So machine or the system is not trying to learn anything from the data, it simply transform that data from one form to another form, and likewise. So it is the flow of data that you require to consider. So here you are having the architectures, the data flow and degenerates into single line of transform, and that is what we can say. So you are having the filters and likewise. So you are having this data, so you are having the sensor information which get filtered, and that to say, like, let's say suppose if here you are having the heat sensor. Heat sensors information, that is heat is raised, get filtered accordingly. Electricity is generated, that electricity get filtered to create the particular signal. If say electricity generated is above 5 volt, you get this filter. Is 5 say 4 to 6 volt, it goes to this filter. Below 4 volt, it goes to this filter, and likewise. And based on these filters, this may be the alarm, this may be something, it creates the another thing. So data is actually flowing from one filter to another filter and to produces the output. It is like electricity. Okay, so electricity flow from one point to another point. For example, when you switch on, okay, so electricity flows through those wires. These are the wires. Let's say this filter is a rotating machine, so it start of rotation. This rotation is connected to the fan, you get the fan. Connected to mixer, you get the mixer in the same way. So that is what called as a pipes and filters in a data flow architecture. So when data flow architecture is there, these are generally used when it comes to the very low level data processing in hardware, or data flow architecture can be used where the data is not voluminous but fixed, and it required to be transformed in a simple way. For example, if you consider your data check, then this is say on a, uh, thumb reader or iris reader, you have the data flow architecture. uh, Call and return architectures are there, where one program and sub program is their main program, sub program. C, Java, everywhere you are using this call and return architecture, or challenge and response architecture is also called as, this is called as sometime. Then you are in the remote procedure call architectures, where you are having this what you can say, instead of having sub programs in same, that is main and sub program, you are having two different programs and they are actually communicating with each other. So you have this client server remote procedure architecture. You are also having this message passing and this thing. So call and return architecture, controller sub program say. Okay. Then object oriented architectures are there. We already have discussed the object oriented architecture uh, a while before, and where classes and everything are. Then you are in the layered architecture. The best example of layered architecture is our operating system. This is the hardware layer, which is called as a core layer. Then okay, this core layer is the hardware, okay, or BIOS, basic input output system. Above this basic input output system, you are having the three layers of operating system: information management, memory management, and process management. Above these three utility layer, you are having the application layer. So this application layer actually constitutes all your application which are executing on your operating system. Then you are having the user interface layer, where you are actually interacting with the operating system and the applications on that particular operating system. At the same time, the other devices, so your Bluetooth connectivity, Wi-Fi connectivity, and those are called as the user interface layers. So if you go with these components and something, the layer architecture is the architecture which is used by operating system, used for operating system design more often. Okay. So if you see this, these are the thing. So at outer layer we have the component, service, and like. I'm not going to read this explanation. I already discussed this. Okay. So we are having the architectural design. So when you say architectural design, what architectural design should have to do? First, define the external entities. Because whenever you are having the architecture, okay, that architecture is used by some human being, that is or some external entities, or say devices or systems, and those are the external entities. Who are the user of that system, or who is going to interact with the system? So those, whatever the external entities, that must have to be defined. That is first thing architectural design must have to do, because it actually decides what type of software say interfaces are required for architecture. Now once this context is modeled, that is what are the external entities with which the software is going to describe, we can go for the external software interfaces design here. So we can go for the all external software interfaces design. Okay. This must require to be designed as in architectural design. And then you have to go for the set of archetypes, okay, that provides a collection of abstractions that must be modeled architecturally. And this is how we can say the archetypes, you can say this architectural designs are required. Okay. So then we are having this representing the systems in the context there. So you have to go with the architectural context diagram. These are the class diagrams, some life diagrams, and other diagrams. Systems that are interoperating with the target systems and other systems that you have to find. So you are having in this architectural design the superordinate system. These are the systems which actually uses the target system. Okay, for example, when you are using your computer or something, you are acting as a superordinate system. Then you are using the subordinate systems are those which are used by the target system. Okay, for example, your power plug is the subordinate system to the laptop. Okay, then you are the peer level systems, the systems which works at the same level. We can call them as a peer level system. For example, right now we are trying to learn through this WebEx interface. So I am giving the input, you are trying to grasp that input as your output, and this is what we can call as the peer level system. Then we can have the actors, that is the entities, and the people and devices, okay, which interact with the target system and likewise. So if you go with this system incorporation, you can have, this is the complete representation of the system context diagram. So you have the actors, these are the peoples or devices. You have the superordinate system which actually uses this system. You have the subordinate system which actually your target system depends on this, and you are having the peer system. So if you say this is your application, then subordinate system shows your operating system, the platform on which your system is running. Superordinate system shows the systems which are actually using your application. This shows the users, while this peer shows the another system. Okay, so these are what you can say we call as an architectural design. Very rough architectural design is there. So how to define this archetype? These are the classes or patterns that represent the core abstraction. So one, if you draw the block diagram of your system, you can say archetype is defined. So generally, it is a very relatively small set of archetypes are required to design the complex system. For example, let's say suppose if you want to represent a simple CPU, the archetype is something like I require ALU here, I require central processing unit here, I require a bus here. Okay, I require some registers to store all these things. So this is, and then they are communicating with each other via some link. So if when we draw such diagram, we can call this as a archetype. A very relatively small set of archetypes are required because they are actually defining a very complex system. Okay, for example, a processor is defined using this simple block diagram. So this is an archetype system, and this can be derived by examining the analysis classes and the part or the components of your system. Uh, it's already 3:11, so we are not having a time for the next presentation that I said about the alternative architecture. So we'll uh, not going to say go through that. So if you have any questions, queries, or if you have any problem with whatever that we just learn here, or what you can say discuss here, okay, you can put in the question answer box. If you like today's lecture, okay, and if you understood a portion of it, I'm not saying the entire is understandable, because some principles you never get if you don't practice them. Okay, and software engineering principles are such that when you start actually practicing them, then and then only you get their importance. Just by reading the theory, or just by, I can say, discussing the theory, none of us, neither me nor you, are capable of understanding those principles. Okay, I know some principles because I practice those. Okay, if you really want to learn the software engineering principles, whatever we discuss here, try to use this principle while designing and developing your software solutions. So if any questions are there, ask the questions, and if you like the lectures, at least give me a thumbs up on question answers or here on your participants things. So thank you, Shruti Tarmia, then thank you, Raunak. It would, so only two applauses. Okay. Okay, thank you. So I'm stopping sharing my desktop, uh, and if you all satisfied, you can say that today's session is ended here. And okay, tomorrow I expect all of you. I'm asking all of you to subscribe to Tutor AS Romale YouTube channel, so that you can get all the lectures available, and also spread about it among your friends from our college as well as from other colleges. Okay, thank you very much for being patiently with me for this hour. Thanks.